It's 6 p.m. Cairo local time, and it's time for the English News Bulletin on Channel 2. This is Sahar Talawi, starting up with the main headlines. President Sisi meets Sudan's Prime Minister on bilateral ties and regional developments. Upon President Sisi directives, Egypt continue airdropping humanitarian aid on Gaza. And the Kremlin says Putin and Trump will meet in coming days. Welcome back to news in detail. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi asserted today Egypt's supportive stance toward Sudan's unity, peace and sovereignty. President al-Sisi also affirmed Egypt's keenness on boosting the efforts to achieve the Sudan's stability and the security and the Sudanese people's sufferings. And the president remarks came during his meeting with the Sudan's Prime Minister Kamel Tayyib Idris in the attendance of the Premier Mustafa Madbouli and the delegation of the both countries. Presidential spokesman Mohammed al-Shenawi said that the meeting tackled developments on the strategic relationships between Egypt and Sudan and means of fostering joint cooperation in various domains. The meeting also witnessed exchange of views over the current regional situation and consultation over the several issues of common concern. And in the meantime, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli held a joint press conference with his Sudanese counterpart Kamel Tayyib Idris at the cabinet headquarters in the new administrative capital. In the press conference, Madbouli and his counterpart renewed their rejection to the unilateral action of Ethiopia regarding the Renaissance Dam of File, which contradicts with the norms of international law. And for his part, the Sudanese Prime Minister Kamel Idris expressed his gratitude and appreciation of the Sudanese government and people to Egypt's historical noble stances and hosting millions of Sudanese during the extraordinary conditions. Earlier in the day, Madbouli received the Prime Minister of Sudan, Dr. Kamel Tayyib Idris, today at the Cairo International Airport. And an official reception ceremony was held where the Guard of Honor was inspected and the national anthems of Sudan and Egypt were played. The two Prime Ministers chaired an expanded session of talks and discussed a number of common issues of mutual concern, in addition to exploring ways to strengthen the bilateral cooperation in various fields. And moving to Gaza, where under the directives of the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Egypt continued airdropping tons of humanitarian aid on the Gaza Strip. In line with the President's directives, 12 military helicopters loaded with the food and the medical supplies flew over Gaza, where the humanitarian and the relief aid were dropped to the Palestinians there over the past 3 days. And the President had earlier directed providing all sorts of support to fellow the Gazans in order to help alleviate their unprecedented humanitarian crisis in coordination with regional and international partners. Moreover, the 9th aid convoy entered Gaza as part of the initiative entitled Zaid al-Izza from Egypt to Gaza that was launched by Egyptian Red Crescent on July 27th. Carrying tons of food, aid and different humanitarian supplies, the convoy's trucks were sent across the Rafah crossing, and more than 1,000 trucks carrying 10,000 tons of food have entered since the beginning of the initiative. Additionally, 4 field hospitals were equipped with the medical equipment to help the wounded and the patient bears. And still with Gaza, where an EU official said that humanitarian situation in Gaza continues to be very severe. This came after the EU's foreign policy and the humanitarian arms updated member countries on the status of an agreement reached with Israel last month on boosting the humanitarian access to Gaza. The official added that there were some positive developments regarding the fuel delivering, the reopening of some routes, and an upward trend in the number of the daily truck entering strengthen the enclave and repair some of the vital infrastructures. However, he stressed the significant obstructive factors continue to undermine humanitarian operation and aid delivery to Gaza, notably the lack of a safe operating environment to allow the distribution of aid at a scale. And to Lebanon, where Lebanon's cabinet is set to meet again today to discuss the task of the disarming Hezbollah a day after the group rejected the government's decision to take away its weapons. With Washington pressing Lebanon to take action on the matter, U.S. envoy Tom Barak has made several visits to Beirut in recent weeks, presenting officials with a proposal that includes a timetable for Hezbollah disarmament. And to Russia, where a Kremlin aide said on Thursday that Russia President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump will meet in the coming days in what would be the first summit between leaders of the two countries since 2021. The announcement came a day after Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff held talks with Putin in search of the breakthrough to end the Ukraine war. Details. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said today that Europe must be a part of talks on ending the Russian military operations at his country, after Moscow said that the President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin were due to meet in the coming days. Zelensky made these remarks on social media after holding phone calls with the leaders of France, Germany and the European Commission. President Ursula von der Leyen, he noted also that the conflict is happening on Europe and Ukraine is an integral part of Europe, being already in negotiations of the European Union's accession, and therefore Europe must be a participant in the relevant process. And to the sector of the business, where Deputy Prime Minister of Industrial Development, Minister of Transport Industry, Kamel Al-Wazir, asserted on Thursday the importance of the Suez Canal company expansion in implementing various projects. And Al-Wazir also highlighted that applying all mechanisms to achieve remarkable progress in the field of developing and improving the seaports management, operation and maintenance of cargo handling sanctions is a priority. This came during Al-Wazir heading to Ordinary General Assembly of the Suez Canal Company for developing the seaports. Al-Wazir pointed to the importance of the company's role in providing logistics services in addition to activities connected to marine, land and rail transport related to it. And Egypt's stock market indices closed higher amid purchases by local and Arab corporations against sell-offs by local and Arab foreign investors. The market capital of the list companies added 17 billion Egyptian pounds, crossing 2.4 trillion pounds at the end of an average transaction of 10.4 billion. The benchmark index EGX 30 rose 0.9% above the 35,800 point mark, and the equal-weighted indices EGX 70 and EGX 100 both climbed 0.7%. And in commodities, crude oil prices snapped 5 days of losses, although trimmed some of the earlier gains after the Kremlin said today and Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump were to meet on a Ukraine ceasefire deal. London's Brent crude futures were up 0.6% at $67.29 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude gained the same percent of $64.73 per barrel. And by this, dear viewers, we come to the end of our news bulletin on Channel 2 Egyptian television. This is Sahar Talawi. Thank you for watching.